Hey, welcome to Perth Backyard Veg. Today we're going to be showing you how we set up our smart automated drip irrigation system. So we are approaching our warmer weather here in Perth, so we are setting up an automated drip irrigation system. There are a few reasons why we're going to be doing this. First of all, it's one less thing we have to think about because it's all on a timer, it's all running itself, so there's no forgetting to water the raised garden beds. The next thing is that because it's the drip irrigation system, it's going to use water more efficiently, and we're going to be putting it below the mulch level so that it goes straight to the roots. We're not losing water to evaporation, and we're not getting any water on the leaves from overhead watering leading to any diseases. And the last thing is we have got a water sensor here as well. So this pairs up with our smart timer, and it's going to tell the timer when we're at a appropriate moisture level within the soil to water again. This means we're not under or over watering our garden. Now we do have quite a few Holman products here. We are not sponsored by them. Would love to be, but not. So we're going to be giving these a go, and we'll do a future video letting you know how it all works out. Alright, so we have two other products here from Holman. The first one is this Wi-Fi tap timer. Now it has a dual outlet, which means that we can run one system off to irrigate these beds and then either set up a second system to irrigate a different section of our garden, or what we're doing at the moment is just having our hose hooked up to the second one. But by having the dual outlet, it gives us the flexibility to change our mind down the track. Now in this one here we have a daily scheduling for both of the outlets, so we can control what times we want them to come on and how long for the two different outlets as well. It also tracks our water usage. That allows us to track whether we're using water efficiently and where we're using the most water in our garden. So this has a Wi-Fi hub that plugs in inside and connects to our Wi-Fi system that then communicates with the tap timer that's outside. So you will need to have a power socket inside that you can devote to that. But it does have a socket on the other side, so you can still plug something into that and power it through there. Now that pairs up with the smart sensor. So you need to have the Wi-Fi tap timer and Wi-Fi hub all ready to be able to use the moisture sensor. This sensor here though tracks the soil temperature and soil moisture and communicates that to the timer and allows it to adjust its program based on those stats. This will help us water more efficiently and effectively. Alright, let's go and check out the tap timer. So this is the tap timer here. It is connected straight to just our standard tap here, and this connector came in the box with the tap timer. And we've got the two outlets at the bottom. We've got our hose link hose connected here on the left, and then on the other side we have a barbed connector to attach some 13mm poly. That's going to run across the yard and take us to our raised bed where we attach our weeper hose. On the front here you've got two buttons so that if you want to control it manually from the tap timer you can. So you just press the button once to start and press it again to stop. You can also do this manual on and off through the app, as well as doing all of your scheduling and programming through the app as well. So if I wanted to turn this one on here, I would just press this button here and it will turn on, and press it again to turn it off. So it's really simple if you're wanting to have your hose connected to it and still be able to use it in the yard. Otherwise you could have a splitter up here. You just need to have a valve on it to be able to turn the hose on and off. Alright, so now we're going to be getting this connected up to our poly and setting up our whole irrigation system. Okay, so we've got our trench dug along here on our route to our raised garden beds, and the very first thing we've got to do is connect our poly to our adapter. So we've unscrewed it here from our tap timer to make this a bit easier. Because you want to push the poly pipe onto the barbed attachment, you don't want to be putting a lot of force on this tap timer. Well, I don't want to. I don't want to see how that works out. So to be safe, we've unscrewed this. I'm about to push this poly pipe on. I've got the little clamp already threaded on here. That's really important because it's hard to get this poly pipe off once you've pushed it on, and you're going to distort the end a little bit. So you want to have this clamp ready to go, threaded onto the poly pipe, and then you're going to push it onto your barbed attachment. So it is flush up against that piece now. So now we're just going to pull the clamp back up around just past the barbed point there. So you should either be able to see the ridge there or if you can't feel your finger along there, so that you can feel that bump or that ridge in the poly pipe there. Hopefully you can see that there. So your clamp's going to sit just above that point, and you get a pair of pliers and squeeze down on that to hold it in place. You've got your clamp just above this ridge bit here. Give it a bit of a squeeze to close it, and then we'll use pliers to make it sure it is nice and tight the rest of the way. Alright, so they are just tight enough on there, and then we're going to be crushing these closed. So that is a nice firm grip. You can't pull it down past that barbed bit or up at all. So we've got a firm grasp on our barbed piece there, and we can attach this back to the tap timer. But to make it a little bit easier for ourselves, we're first going to measure how long this pipe's going to be. So this pipe here takes us from our tap timer down to the ground level. Then we're going to add an elbow piece and run it along the yard. We've got the barbed piece in line with the tap timer here, and we're going to be cutting right at the ground level here. We're going to be attaching an elbow piece and then running another piece of poly pipe perpendicular to this across the yard. And then that takes us, once we've attached that back, that'll take us just to the ground level. Now to attach our elbow piece, so this bit's going to go from the pipe from the tap timer down into this part of the elbow piece, and then our other piece that runs across the yard is going to shoot out of there. Like I said before, you need to have one of these clamps threaded onto the poly pipe first. You're going to put that through, up the poly pipe, and then connect your barbed piece. So again, this is going to require a little bit of muscle, push it the whole way so it goes past that barbed piece and up to the connection there. Alright, so that is now flush up against the corner bit of the elbow piece. Our clamp is here. We're going to try and crush that together with our fingers and then finish the rest off with the pliers like before. Yeah, and again, we've got a nice tight fit. We can't slide that in either direction. Alright, so the next connection is going to be exactly the same as this. We're going to measure our poly across the yard, clamp this on, making sure the clamp's on there before we push the poly on, and then we're going to be taking it up the raised beds. So we'll see you there. We had to stop yesterday, but we've managed to get the poly pipe to run along the back of our raised beds to halfway down. At this point, we're going to add a 4-way splitter. This is so that we have even pressure for all 3 beds rather than having the last bed have the least amount of pressure. So we've got an elbow piece here that's gone up. We're going to cut this to about 5 centimeters, attach our 4-way piece, and then we're going to send the pipes to their respective beds. For this bed here, we're just going to send it straight up. I'm going to use cable ties to attach the poly pipe to this stake that we've driven in here, and that will keep the whole system nice and tidy, and it means we won't have this poly pipe flopping around and there's no potential breaks or anything like that that could happen. So we're going to cut our poly pipe here. Put our clamp piece again, so again we're going to be threading that onto our poly pipe first, and then we've got our 4-way piece, so we're going to be pushing it in all the way to this join here, and then we're going to be tightening that clamp with our hands and then with the pliers after that. Okay, so now that we've got that piece attached, we're going to be putting poly pipe onto all 3 of these, taking them to their stake, running it up along the stake, cable tying, and then we'll show you how we're going to get it from here into the bed and what the in-bed setup will look like. Let's go. So now we're at our end bed over here. We've got the pipe running from that T-piece along, stopping just before the stake. So now I'm going to be cutting it just before the stake, adding a elbow piece to run it up the stake here. I'm going to put some cable ties on here, and then we're going to be putting elbows at the top to send the pipe over into the bed. Alright, so let's do this. As always, make sure your clamp's on your poly before you put your fitting on. Got my clamp on, got my elbow piece here. Okay, so now that we've got that set up, we've got the poly pipe running to the top and we've got the elbow piece here. We've got the peg holding this join down at the bottom, but we're also going to be adding some cable ties around the base. Now, hopefully we can get away with just one cable tie, but they are on the tight side. So if we need to thread two together, we will. But let's have a go with just one to start with, and then we'll show you how you can use two if yours are too small. Okay, that just fits perfectly. If you did have cable ties that are slightly too short though, then all you do is thread the tail of one into the opening of the other until it clicks, and then you can use this like the other end of the cable tie and just loop it and tighten it to where you need it to be. Okay, so we've made it up to the top of the bed here. We've just got this really short piece of poly here with some clamps that we're going to put onto this elbow piece here so that we can then connect the second elbow. So this elbow brings it from the piece that's going straight up the stake over to the top of the bed, and then this elbow is going to bring it down into our soil level, and then we're going to have a third elbow piece that runs the poly to our little valve here. Now that those two elbow pieces are joined by that piece of poly, we've got our two little clamps here. I'm going to try and get this as close to the barbed bit as we can because we only have a little lip of the poly there. It was a bit more difficult than we anticipated, but I'm just going to try and keep this one here as close to that barbed piece as I can. Okay, so now that we have this coming up into the bed and we've got our valve attached here, we're going to start using our weeping hose. So we've cut off this little bit. This is going to connect to a 4-way piece, and then that's going to connect our 3 lines. So we have one coming out this way down this side of the bed, one coming out this way and down this side of the bed, and then one going straight forward. So let's hook this up. We've got these slightly different ratchet clamps here from Coleman. They just fit a little bit better than the other ones that we have. The weeping hose is slightly thicker, and these just have that little bit extra room. These ones you can even put them on afterwards, which makes this process easier. Just like the other ones, we've tightened them as much as we can by hand, and then we're going to go in with a pair of pliers. We've got ourselves a better pair of pliers now as well, so this is going to speed up the job. For the weeping hose, we're going to have one heading straight down the middle here to the end, and then we're going to have an end cap piece on, and then we're going to have 2 lines running just inside this PVC structure here. So I'm just going to go down to the other end of the bed, pull this to length and cut it there. The next thing I'm going to do is send my weeping hose out to the side here to the elbow piece, then I'm going to send it down the side of the bed. Now, just like what we did with the middle piece, we're going to run our 2 lengths down the side of this, and then we'll take it to the other end and show the capping process at the end and where we're going to pin it down. Okay, so we have dug our trenches to put this weeping hose in as well, and now we're at the other end and we've got our little capping pieces here, and they've even got a little hole in the end, so that's where we're going to be putting our peg or our pin to hold these down. So we're just going to push this into the end. Put our ratchet clamp on this one as well. And then just pin it down. And that will hold that weeping hose in place. I'm going to get the other ones done, and then we'll show you what it looks like all finished and give it a run to see how it works. And that's how how we set up our automatic drip irrigation system. We hope you found that video helpful. Like we said, we're going to have future videos coming reviewing the Holman system, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our future videos. If you've got any questions at all, pop them down in the comment section below, and we hope to see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.